and recognize that we've got to toe the line. If this information is good, it's got to apply to all of us. Well, how do we upregulate antioxidant activity and preserve the function of mitochondria? That's really where it is. What can we do to upregulate mitochondrial activity? Again, our literature is full of citations. Bioenergetic therapies, it doesn't mean crystals, it means using things that upregulate mitochondrial activity, have the potential to affect the course of neurologic diseases in which mitochondrial function is impaired. That's every neurologic disease that there is. And this study looked at Parkinson's patients given coenzyme Q10. And if you look at what's called the Unified Parkinson's Disease Rating Scale, or the UPRUSA, or whatever, it shows you that those individuals at the highest level of coenzyme Q10 consumption, their rate of decline in a 1-year period was slowed by 48%. That's treating the fire, not focusing on the smoke. This is profound information. This is information used by less than 0.5% of neurologists in this country. And here's the conclusion, that coenzyme Q10 in high dosage is safe, it's well tolerated, and reduced the worsening of Parkinson's disease as reflected in the total UPDRS score. Therefore, the conclusion, it would be premature to recommend the use of CoQ10 in the treatment of Parkinson's disease. Here are some drugs in your handout which inhibit CoQ10. Put that down, fool. It's a bone of contention. Listen, those pages are turning. We are moving along. Vitamin E was discussed yesterday. Simply stated, looking at a food questionnaire and then comparing 18 months later, those individuals with the highest vitamin E consumption, 36% reduction in the rate of decline. Again, focusing on treating the fire, focusing not on closing the barn door after the cow gets out, and giving a drug like Aricept to somebody who's moderate to end-stage demented. Well, what else can we do? And I recently made the decision to add this information to my presentation today. We all talk about things to enhance the mitochondrial activity. We want to enhance the membrane upon which electron transport takes place. We want to make sure that there's enough acetylcarnitine to bring the coals to the fire. We want to make sure that all the appropriate B vitamin cofactors are necessary for oxidative phosphorylation. But one thing that I think is oftentimes overlooked in terms of that process of oxidative phosphorylation is the oxidation part, the oxygen part. And this is how we give oxygen. We in a therapeutic way, we put people in chambers that are pressurized up to 2.5 atmospheres with 100% oxygen to treat a variety of problems that are listed. We use it for stroke recovery because we know that the infarct tissue is dead, the normal tissue is here, but the penumbra, the ischemic penumbra, are neurons that are functional but not functioning. And this is not news. This has been looked at for years in Europe. Why? Because some stroke patients are mildly disabled, mild residual disability, and some require institutional care. Some have no disability at all, and others are pretty well total assistance with activities of daily living. At our center, we use hyperbarics for a variety of common issues, at least that we deal with on a daily basis. And it's really, I've had many treatments myself. It's a very comfortable experience. There's a technician that's there the whole time with you, and you can watch TV. But I'm going to present a case very briefly of a young girl who was at summer camp, had the flu. Thereafter, she very quickly went downhill, had a workup for various issues. Her CSF Lyme was negative. Her white count was slightly elevated. This child was seen at a major institution in Georgia and at various other institutions around the country, and had the event that the storm had come and passed. And in the wake of the storm, this is what she was left with.
Touch your head up here on the top, like you're brushing your hair.
Very good. Very good.
Is that okay?
Yeah.
So what do we need to do? We need to target the mitochondria. We targeted the mitochondria. How? We added high dosage DHA, moderately high dosage glutathione, which upregulates mitochondrial activity, and we started treating her with hyperbaric oxygen therapy. She just received her master's in public health. She was, this was an article actually written about her and our treatment in Alternative Medicine. And they said, when all else failed, oxygen breathed life back into one very sick young girl. But the whole concept of breathing in oxygen is not new. I mean, we can go back to the Vedic texts and learn about what that does. What else enhances inflammation? Diabetes. Lots of diabetics. At the top it says that Alzheimer's diabetes link. Very quickly, the incidence of diabetes is absolutely skyrocketing in this country. Why it's important is because blood sugar, elevated sugar, bonds to the amino terminus of proteins with the process called glycosylation, producing these advanced glycosylated end products, which are not just markers of aging, but turn on cytokines. So they're profound upregulators of cytokine activity and can lead to at least a 50-fold production increase, 50-fold of free radicals, proteins, compared to non-glycated ones. The risk of Alzheimer's is up about 400% if you are on insulin. This is the slide to remember. This is a plot of your degree, of a person's degree of brain wasting, plotted against glycohemoglobin. That's a glycated protein. The higher your glycohemoglobin, the greater your brain will waste over time. This is annual. This is in 1 year. This is an important message. Modification protein with blood sugar causes enhanced free radicals. This is a perfect slide from dovetailing with our last presentation. This is our society. You walk through an airport these days on your way to the conference, and what do you see? You see huge numbers, no pun intended, of obese people and signs that say terminal. So our problem is not that the governor was gay, but that fat cells are waging a war on your health, and why dieting is no magic bullet. I mean, that was an amazing presentation we just saw. It's not, the dieting is not the issue. And inflammation is the key indicator here, the key player. If you measure someone's tricep skin fold and follow them for 30 years, those who had the fattest tricep skin fold, 30 years later have a risk of Parkinson's increased by about 3-fold. Because fat is a producer of inflammatory mediators, inflammatory cytokines, and acts as a reservoir for lipid-soluble neurotoxins that selectively damage dopamine-producing neurons, substantia nigra. So fat is more than just a producer of cytokines, but it stores these toxins to which we are exposed. And I don't know what he's thinking, but it sort of looks like he might say, I hope you vote for my wife in the Pennsylvania primary. It wasn't meant to, anyway. And again, when you plot obesity versus the volume of your hippocampus, there's an interesting relationship, i.e., that fatter a person is, the smaller is their hippocampus. And again, if you look at a tricep skin fold measurement and compare that to risk of Alzheimer's, it's just like it is in Parkinson's. High tricep skin fold measurements predict 20, 30 years later a 300% increased risk of Alzheimer's disease. Even being overweight today, because of its upregulation of tumor necrosis factor alpha and its effect on these neural networks, compromises your digit span, even momentarily, not looking at long-term risk for Alzheimer's. So what should we eat? Well, is it today the North Beach diet or the South Beach diet? I think one thing is clear, and that is that there's profound information in this whole concept of monosaccharides and insulin stimulation and its effect on apoptogenesis. So I think what you've just learned was very, very important. Now, the various diets are compared. We've seen a lot of information lately about the Mediterranean diet. And basically, in Greece, I went to Greece to shoot this picture. This is McDonald's in Greece, where, you have to go to, I didn't go really. I didn't travel around and write a book about various diets. But anyway, what is the Mediterranean diet? Very briefly, lots of vegetables, legumes, colorful food, whole grains, lower amounts of fish, and alcohol is mentioned 1 point in the good direction for 1 drink a day, but more than that, then you're off the other side of the bell curve. Risk for Alzheimer's disease, again, dramatically reduces the higher you conform to the Mediterranean diet.